Good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo First here, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, Yerushalyim, HaKodesh. We're learning Nefesh HaChaim. Rabbi Reuven Levitt is taking care of some important business for the Yeshiva right now, so I'm temporarily substituting for him. And Shar Aleph, Perik Vav, in Nefesh HaChaim. Let's see, actually, page Ayin Daled, I think, but that's where we last. Yeah. Wow, great. Progress. Mark, you have it there? Yes. The top word, would you like to read a bit first? Top word, V'cheto, with his sin.
V'cheto, she'ninsha achar pitui sitra oz sarku koichos aral sarku Nafshi.
So with the Chet of Adam Rishon, he was now drawn after the enticements of the Yetzer Hara, and consequently they became intermixed with him. All the detrimental forces, they actually entered into him.
Tabru, Sa'ardu, Sa'ikhan, Oilmas, Toy, Omara, Yach, Ze, Saik, Ze Mamash, Das, Yerushalyim, Kadus,
So you have here, likewise with the, not only within man himself, you had all the koiches of Toiv intermixed within himself, but also with all the elements, all the physical and spiritual worlds. This is what's referred to the Eitz Hadas Toiv. If you just look at the expression here, Eitz Hadas Toiv, meaning it's a tree of knowledge of good and evil. You have the tree which is a reference to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Right? So now there's a knowledge of not just good, but there's a knowledge of what's evil as well.
Does it ever mention the peros of the Eitz Hadas, or they just say Eitz Hadas, and peros are self-explanatory?
The Gemara says it's purposely, first of all, the Torah doesn't reveal what the tree was, and nor does it reveal what fruits it had. That's not to embarrass any particular fruits. You want to be really careful.
Well, that's interesting. So to embarrass even an inanimate object like a tree, we have to avoid it. If I give a deeper from it would say he has the dignity of man, that's a safe animal, and the son is here for the possibility of hurt with him in about 5 years. So he says when it comes to Kohen, going up to the Mizbeach, he had shorts on. Why? Because there was a steps, and we can walk up steps, so the steps would see your body parts if you didn't have shorts on. So the Rosh Yeshiva said, if the Kohen and the Mizbeach, all this was wearing embarrassing stones, that we should worry about embarrassing a fellow human being.
Yes.
Over here. So that's similar to the Torah is not saying which tree and which fruit, not to embarrass the trees.
But you know, on that very spot in the Beis Hamikdash, we used to have contests. We used to have the Kohanim running up the ramp, and when we got to the top would be privileged to do the avoda.
And they stopped it.
And they stopped it because it occurred that someone got pushed off and damaged. And the second thing which led to the complete stoppage of that is one Kohen took a knife and actually killed another Kohen on his way up. He was losing the race, So the best way to win a race is eliminating competition.
Can you imagine a coin?
Can you imagine a coin in the base of Mikdash?
Wow, that's
Just
just
trying
competing
to serve Hashem, not to serve Hashem.
That's
unbelievable.
That's-
It's impossible to imagine.
Now,
that's right.
now,
And these Kohanim, they were up there, right? As far as they could do, sure. And they weren't Passover done like we are.
No.
These were Kohanim, right?
Because
And they could lose it also.
in the base of Mikdash, and you see, what does that tell you about human nature? A very deep lesson about human nature. When a person is out for himself, right, there's no limits. There's absolutely no limits. You say, tomorrow's another day, I'll do the vote if not today, tomorrow.
I gotta do it today. I gotta do it today. So that was at the ego, the Yitzhahara selling. Today's the day for you. You're gonna be the top Kohen. No matter how you get there. Huh?
Not only that, did he actually think if he killed the other Kohen, they would actually let him do the avoda? Do you think that Kohen that committed the murder? You think, and he run the what? I'm not sure if he won the race. Let's say he did win the race. Do you really think he would get to win do the avoda under certain?
Yeah, because he had a lawyer, and the lawyer said it was temporary insanity that he lost his cool.
He was consumed by his...
That's modern
his time.
interpretation. Do they have that in time the base? I think the plea of temporary insanity. I don't know.
So, that dovetails in with our conversation yesterday about bias.
Right.
He was so biased by his desire that he couldn't think straight.
Of course, that's what happens. That's what happens. And you should know, you know the halakha of a Kohen that kills. Even b'shogeg, the Kohen that kills cannot duken. Even bisman is there. There's a very big shaila if a Kohen is driving a car, and even if he kills, could possibly kills anybody. B'shogeg, he happens to be reckless, not on purpose, and he kills. Let's say somebody who's
He makes a mistake and hits the...
So let's say someone jumps out from between the cars.
Well, he has a blowout, he can't control it.
Right.
He loses control of the car. So he's still, even under all those things.
Ein katigor nasa sanigur. There's a general rule. The prosecution cannot become the advocate. By killing, even though it might be unintentional, it's still a killing. It's still a killing. So that can't become that's an act of prosecution. So the prosecutor can't become an advocate.
Do we also be a man if they have they kill somebody in a car accident? I don't think we do. I don't know.
It's here in the...
What did the Ramah say on this topic? If his horse and wagon lost control and did some damage, and he's a Kohen and he was driving and he killed somebody, did he was he excluded from the Kohen? I don't know.
Here, this is in Torah Chaim, the second chelik of Mishnah. Kuf Chav Ches, Sim Kuf Chav Ches. Sif Lamed Lamed
No, but if you read it, I believe it.
You believe him?
I believe it.
The words make you wise.
Good morning, boy. How are you doing? How are you feeling today? It's a little breezy. It's a little cool.
Mm-hmm.
And your neighbor's Paransi is a little cooler, a little breezy. And Yamsuf was breezy, so it was
Not time. Not time it gets better.
better.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kohen should har ges a nefesh. A Kohen that killed somebody. I feel a b'shogeg. Lo yisa es kappa. We can't do it.
Wow. Very specific.
I feel also tshuva, even if he did tshuva. He did it unintentionally. He did tshuva as much as possible. Can't do it. Yesho, that's the mechaber. Yesh omrim, im osa tshuva nosa kappa. The Ramah says that for the Ashkenazim, if he's an Ashkenazi Kohen, right? If he did tshuva, he can do him. V'yesh lahakal al bali tshuva shelo nal delos bifneim. Became noyig, and you should be lenient with the bali tshuva. I mean, let's say a person was involved with crime. He was a Kohen, and in a young age
What
or
about
one
a
stage.
Kohen who married a shiksa? A question came to me a few months ago in the Sephardi congregation of Baal Tshuva.
Yeah.
Okay, now everything is spiritual. He sits right in front of me, the Sephardi minion, and he doesn't me because he married some Hispanic woman 12 years ago. His kids are Amistik Goyim. He sends his daughter to the gymnasium, which is the school in Queens that the Labor Buyer subsidizes, so they don't pay tuition in order to get their kids. But the Sephardim say, oh, the girls have to be protected, so we send them to Yeshiva. The boys, we went to school with Muslims in Russia, and we managed so that we don't have to give the boys to Yeshiva, which is the wrong thing. I raised money to help send these kids to Yeshiva because the freedom in America, when your son is sitting next to a shiksa and Goyim, it's going to be very, very negative. So this guy, his name is Avram, I said, Avram, I was told that he's planning to divorce his shiksa wife, okay?
All right.
I said, and then my son Moshe looked it up in the Gemara. The Gemara says he can return to Dukkaning if he does tshuva, which is a yosem and a klal, because many times, once you did an avera and you metame yourself, you can't really go back. So I told him, that once you divorce this nice lady, I'm not going to speak much on her about it, then you get Dukkan again. He says, you sure? I said, yeah, I had my son ask a Shiloh, and he actually asked Rabbi Marcus, who's the Rav in Buffalo. Rabbi Marcus is an animal of Gapsalas Peichik, the Baron Salapeichik. How it all comes together. And he said, yes, but if he does Shuvah, he can do it, but his kids can never become Kohanim because they're Goyim, and even if the Messiah, when they was at 13, and they accept all the mitzvahs, but Kahuna, they cannot have.
Right.
So that's exactly what came up, and we had to ask the Shiloh. So these are practical things.
So that's what the Ramah says. Yesh lahakal should be lenient with Balei Tshuva, a person who in some way or another was involved with crime and killing before in an early stage of his life, and now he does a complete absolute tshuva. Then you don't want to close the doors in front of the Balei Tshuva, that they should be able to feel if they do an honest, proper tshuva, they should be able to come back into the fold and be accepted properly, just like everything was forgiven, which in fact Hashem does forgive. Became Nogan, that is the minute. So you see that a person, Kohen, he's involved with killing somebody, even the Shoygit. Yeah.
So there's no way to know if he did tshuva, so we just accept his word?
Well, we try, based on his actions, as much as we can understand that he's doing tshuva. I mean, you don't know what's going on behind the minds and deepest crevices of a person's own psyche to know exactly where it's going. But if you see that he's acting in a kosher way, so you don't have to assume that he's again, if he's brought up on charges for suspected manslaughter, so I have a right to say maybe not anymore.
Well, we were talking yesterday about prejudices and how it affects your behavior, etc. To qualify what you said, and somebody said, "Oh, I have a nice shidduch for your son or daughter with this family, but this is their basic history." I said, "Yeah, well, let's pass." In other words, if somebody was a ganav, somebody married a shiksa, somebody was brought up charges, I don't think it's a yichus. I don't think it's a plus in their CV, their the history of their life's activity. So that's prejudice, right? We're just learning that we should accept him 100%. But people are prejudiced.
No, I mean, look, when you have to, If a person's car to me has to care more about himself than anybody
that's
else.
right.
So I mean, like, in terms of allowing them to circulate freely in the Jewish society, so that's one thing. Now, when you're faced with choices as to who you want to pick for a family member, so you have to you can be concerned with the best, getting the best absolute choice that you can possibly get.
But it's not your prejudice, it's the prejudice of the chassan. In other words, if the chassan cares about whether somebody married a shiksa,
What do the parents say? It's not for us. So isn't it
the parents of the chassan,
the
that's the parents of the chassan.
cousin or cousin, whatever the circumstances.
The parents of the chassan are with the chassan. What I'm saying is, if you are the third party, you're not in the family. You're the one who is the shotgun. You're the one who's making the recommendation. And you take it upon yourself to say, oh, but his grandfather married a shiksa, so that may or may not be right. Because you have to find out, is this something that the chassan cares about?
I think a good shotgun who is going to be successful is going to say, I'm not going to present this person because
The good shotgun has to find out. She has to interview the chassan and the family and find out, is this an issue that's important to you?
Well, that's
If it's not an issue that's important, then it's lashon hara.
a chassan, a shotgun responsibility. The ones who are successful is to check out all the details. I think that's the responsibility of the shotgun. The one who is successful knows what people are looking for.
You have to follow the halacha, no matter how successful they are. You have to do what's according to the halacha.
No, I mean, the basic rule is
what's
that
against the
if you know that in general people will be it's an important piece of information people will be makpid about, right? To know, right? Most everybody will be interested in and wanting to know certain information, so you have a right to ask.
That's what I'm saying. If you know that there's an interest in knowing that.
Yeah. So some things, you can assume that
It's
certain
a
things you can
standard.
assume that it's a standard, what we call HaKodesh, it's a standard criteria.
Right. But whether his great grandfather married a shiksa, which is probably not a standard halacha.
In my book it is, in your book it is.
Well, if it's in your book and in my book, then it's not standard. It's only if everybody holds that way. That's the point.
From my perception, everybody holds that way. It's not a yield, it's not a plus, okay? In fact, I could quote.
It's a two-way street. Because the questions that you ask can affect the other side. Like, for example, when I called to ask about my son-in-law, I wanted to know what is his commitment to Torah. Because my daughter told me it was very important to her that she marry somebody who's going to be a learner, not a learner worker, but a learner.
Right.
It's not even my hashkafa. I don't approve of that, but that was her desire. So I asked them, is he committed to learning? And then the feedback came back to his parents that the father of the bride was very concerned about the learning, and that was a positive.
Yeah.
That made them more desirable to have the shidduch.
Right.
But it can go the other way around. If you ask a question, then it goes back to them, and they say, he's asking that question? I don't know. You got to be careful. You could ruin the shidduch for yourself.
No. See, I think this is a very normal, typical situation in our day and age. People will inquire the background. They have a list of things that they think is important. And to me, that's not prejudice. That's a normal way of saying. Is it suitable for my daughter who wants somebody who learns? Is it suitable for my daughter who wants somebody who's going to work and become a lawyer or a doctor or anything cheap? That's standard operating procedure. To me, that's not prejudice.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if you ask a question that is prejudice, then that could be something that will turn them off, and they say, we don't want you.
There's words like this.
Better off.
If there's a third party involved, so they have to be careful. Let's say a certain question was asked. Was there any mental disease in the family? Right? So that's a valid question. That's a valid question. People want to know: was there any, within recent generations, was there any mental illness in the family? Right. So if the third party is working, right? So to say that they, the first party, that's the family of the chassan wants to know, right? So that's to say that that's what they want to know, that might be bordering on lashon hara. But if you simply ask the question, right? So then it's the third party who's trying to mitigate, right? So there's no question of lashon hara being involved here, because it's not going to reflect on the say in this case the family of the chassan, right? But if you say that the family of the chassan wants to make sure that there's no mental illness in the recent history of the family, so so that might reflect positively or negatively on the.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Well, we learned
So the way the question is asked, it could be the same information is going to be gotten, but it's a question how do you get the information.
Absolutely.
Well,
You have to be careful when you phrase your questions. You have to be careful, to rehearse. Before I made a call, I would rehearse what I was going to say, how I was going to say it.
we learned last year Shmiras HaLashon, and every day the HaKodesh brought up the situations. Can you ask these questions if there's a tachlis? If there's going to be some value from asking this question? So, as we just said, if you ask, is there mental illness in this family? And by the way, mental illness 50 years ago was hidden. Everybody knew that there was always some aunt or uncle that they kept in the closet. Okay, there was always some Yeshiva, a tante who was in the closet. It was a joke, but there was a lot of truth to it. That they did not want to publicize this. So, is that true? No, it's not evidence. If you had Mishigas in the family and they ask, you have to answer. But people were very reluctant to, I know in China, 25, 30, 40 years ago, the child was disabled. Even in the Hasidic world, they were not willing to acknowledge that that child had some learning disabilities and he needed special help. And the kid would grow up at 18, 20, he wasn't able to function properly. If the parents would have helped him when he was 8, 10, 12, they would have had a different so in other words, you have to evaluate, not everybody can do it. The Nefesh HaChaim evaluating when you could ask these difficult questions, and it's not lashon hara if it's for tachlis, if it's going to create a true situation. These are very difficult.
It's very sensitive. The question is when are you obligated to come forth on your own? That would meaning if there's something which you can assume that most people would be makpid on, like let's say that there was mental illness in the recent history of the family, right? And you know the word.
But we use the word Mishigas.
Oh, Mishigas. Illness. That's not illness.
Too sophisticated for me.
So, if you happen to know that there is, some people may just, tell me about the chassan, tell me about, the families, and they sing such wonderful zmiros on Shabbos. They don't clap hands either, right?
Now we understand what
If they say such a general open question like, tell me about the chassan.
Yeah.
It's best to say, well, tell me what's important to you.
Yeah, that's what you always throw it back. Well, what are you interested in? What's the kala looking for? What's the girl looking for? She's looking for it because you want to say, well, he doesn't learn too much. So that's not, in some people that's a shvach, sometimes that's a genai, depending on your hashkafas about learning and things like that. So, but if the girl wants a person who's going to be learning, so it depends. So you should, what kind of a boy is she looking for? Tell me a little bit what she's looking for. Right. And then you can respond, Just
well, I think
very open questions.
They say nip it in the bud. If she said she's looking for this, he doesn't qualify.
That's it.
That's it. So you have to there's no hard feelings, no lashon hara, no geneva stars. This is the facts.
The boy's looking. What's he looking for? He's looking for a nodding of $55,000. Looking for a dowry of $55,000. They only have $25,000, so okay. You don't have to mention that how much they have. They better look somewhere else.
That's right. My late mother was younger. She said, from her experience in life, you're better off borrowing at the bank than marrying for money. Because she saw too many customers. Very wealthy girl, blah blah blah. They married and didn't work out.
Because of the money or because of other things?
he was influenced by the money, and he didn't check the other thing, and it wasn't a suitable shidduch.
Yeah.
So her Yeshiva approach was go to the bank instead of marrying for
Well,
money.
I mean, it's brought down in the posting. A person marries for money. There's not going to be a bracha. Not going to be a bracha. You have to marry because this is a person who's going to help you through life to achieve your purposes in life in the proper way.
So, and how do you explain when Shlomo Malach says, "Kesef yanas hakol"?
It's true. It influences everybody.
And it influences. Did Shlomo Malach say it influences for good, or
Depends.
bad?
That depends on the person. It could influence a person for good. If you want to, you have let's say a bacher, and he's a Masri type, and you say, listen, if you learn Shas in the next 5 years, I'll give you $10,000. That's a nice motivation for a bacher to put his mind to. You know, okay, it's low, maybe it's low lishma, but
is that a motivation to marry his daughter?
It could be also.
But we just said, don't you have other components that you have to...
You have to take, of course, you have to take everything. Look, when you...
But maybe this is going to blind them to just one thing. It's going to create a prejudice.
So that's why you should have a Rav, and the Rav should advise him. Advise him, you have to look into this, you look into that. You know, these are life decisions. Shouldn't be made on the basis of one facet. That's very foolish to do. Make a major life decision based on only one point, one criteria.
Well, unfortunately, even among the frum young men, are these life decisions? A lot of them say, well, we're going to see if it's going to work out. Today, going in and out of marriage is more like a door that keeps on turning. In previous generations, it was a lifetime commitment.
Well, it should be.
Well, the times have changed.
Unfortunately for the children of those marriages.
That's right.
That's very unfortunate for them.
And the temptations and the challenges they have didn't exist in my generation. And when my daughter, thank God, has a large family, 8 children, and she used to, when the kids were small, she went to some lady from, I don't remember the name, a fancy lady, every Sunday night for a class. So I said, Debbie, your parents raised 4 boys and 1 daughter. She was a little bit unbalanced, because you had to be careful not to show partiality. And we never went to any parenting class, and I think we managed. Okay, well, that a fair question to ask my daughter? She said, what, no? Okay, well,
That's a fair question. You can ask the question.
That's me, okay, I'm not going to change. She says, Abba, when we were brought up, temptations on the street and what's going on in the world was not the same. Even living in Yerushalyim, even the Frum's community, going to the Frum school, these kids are still being challenged. You have to know how to handle these things, which to me was a legitimate answer that things have changed.
It was a very politically correct answer.
That's all. It's not my wife.
She could have said, yeah, and look how we turned out. That's why we got to do better.
That's Shalili, that's negative. But and my wife claims that.
Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Levitt.
Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem.
That's
See you in a while.
a respectful daughter will not say things to a tati that it could be taken as a negative.
Right.
It's a lack of
That's why she answered you the way she did.
And then my son said, you believe everything the Tachta says? She will never tell you the truth. So you got to find a balance.
Okay, I'd like to have another take over with Hashem.